Good evening and welcome to today's Tropics for June 27th, 2021. Please note, I am not a meteorologist and this video is just a collection of my thoughts and opinions about the storms I'm talking about. And for any decision making, please consult National Hurricane Center or your local officials. So today I'm looking at Invest 96L, which is currently approaching the southeastern coast, and also Invest 95L, which is currently in the central Atlantic. So let's first take a look at Invest 96L. This one's a bit closer to land, and it's going to have land impacts within the next couple of days, so it's something I'll look at first. Now, it's actually on the verge of being a tropical cyclone because it does have a closed circulation now. It's a bit harder to see because it's night, but a bit west of this area, or this area of deeper convection, there's a smaller low-level center, and that is again closed, and really all it's missing for it to become a tropical cyclone is a bit more convection. So I'll see if in that diurnal maximum tonight if it can do that. But again, it's on the pretty much on the verge of becoming a tropical cyclone, and uh, as as always with these sort of storms, it doesn't really matter what kind of thing it is, if it's tropical cyclone or not. It's probably going to have impacts anyway. So now let's take a look at the water vapor loop. And this will tell us about the kind of upper level flow in the area. Now we've got this one upper level low which is close to the storm and has been naturally ventilating it with the stronger easterly flow. That's allowed it to maintain some deep convection and probably allowed it to close that the low off in the first place. You've got another weaker upper low that's more well to the southeast of it. And then finally, you have a large area of easterly wind aloft, and that is from the ridge that's north of it that is also steering it generally eastward, or generally westward. It's also worth noting to the south of it, there's a bit of drier air, but given that most of this year is more so out of the east rather than out of the south, unless it actually tries to wrap it in, it doesn't seem that this dry air will be a major issue for it. But if one thing to note now is that both the upper lows here are actually south of Invest 96L. And so what that means, we're getting into that pattern that should persist until it gets to land. And that will be with these two upper lows that are to the south of it, and causing some easterly flow aloft here. And then to the north of that, you have the upper ridge. So generally a large area of easterly flow aloft, and Invest 96L will be basically embedded in that pattern. Now let's take a quick look at the some of the mulligines here. Here's a GFS tomorrow morning. You can see it. Even then, it's going to be probably close to the coast. It is pretty broad here, but the models have been kind of underdoing this a little, so it could be something a bit uh, more concentrated than this. But generally, you'll have the center near the coast already by tomorrow morning, and it will head generally eastward, probably into or near the coast of Georgia. And we do have a recon mission actually there tomorrow afternoon, so let's have to see what it finds in there. And then at the same time, here's a look at the upper level flow, and this basically shows what I was talking about earlier. That here's a ridge, or shoot, uh, sorry about that. Here's this ridge here that is currently causing the that big area of easterly flow to the north of it. Then you got these two upper lows and this general area of cyclonic flow aloft. And between that, but closer to the upper lows, will be Invest 96L. And that it'll be embedded again in that easterly flow. Will be rather brisk. So that means even though Invest 96L itself is moving towards the west along with the flow is stronger aloft, so it might be a bit sheared from the east, and as a result, it probably won't get too strong. But there will still be impacts. There will be likely some rain, some breezy conditions, possibly rip currents as it comes ashore. So even if it doesn't become a tropical cyclone, uh, you shouldn't, uh, let your guard down for this. Let's take a look at Invest 95L. Now this one is in the further east in the central Atlantic, between Africa and the Caribbean, and it's starting to look a little bit better now. It's been pretty anemic and broad. It hasn't had much convection lately, but finally it's been able to get a good amount of convection going, and it's been persisting for the last few hours. So it's looking a little bit more interesting uh, at this point so far. As a result of that convection, it's also sharpened quite considerably from being, a weak vorticity max on the northwestern side of the broader wave, but now it seems to be becoming more dominant here. Again, it's night, so it's harder to see the low level flow, but we have an idea of it from the shortwave imagery here. And if we look a bit further south, you also see that westerly flow on the south or southern side of the broader wave axis, and then you have a more easterly flow, and then that kind of trough axis here, and then a more northerly flow on the western side. So there's definitely some sort of sharp trough axis around here, and it's sharp and well defined enough to or allow for convection to fire with it, and for it to actually uh, like persist as it is right now. The shear it or is pretty much not or is pretty much unheard of right now, which is kind of weird for June 27th. But indeed, there isn't really a whole lot around at the moment. You can see the flow is generally out of the east again here. And if it was stationary, that would be a shear. But Invest 95L is also moving with that easterly wind, so there's actually a little shear aloft. And you can see right here some of these little convective bursts, and they're not really getting sheared much at all. And you can see Invest 95L isn't at all really. So that isn't an issue with it right now. The issue for it right now is the stable layer here that it's trying to wrap in, and it is generally kind of far north, at least for June. So there is stable layer trying to get in and trying to kind of choke out that convection. And at the same time, it's also under rather cool sea surface temperatures. It's a little bit early in the season, and the main development region isn't really that warm. So Invest 95L is over sea surface temperatures of around 26 degrees, so that's pretty marginal. And with stable air around and marginal sea surface temperatures, it probably shouldn't be uh, firing off much convection, but indeed here we see a decent amount of it firing right now and persisting, as I said earlier. So it is actually looking pretty decent for the conditions it's got. And given that it's starting to near 40 degrees north and that kind of shelf of water, uh, the water is going to start warming soon, and it's not too far away from its window to become even more well-defined and possibly become a weak tropical cyclone in the next few days. Luckily, the steering pattern is rather straightforward right now. It's good. You've got this big subtropical ridge, as is usual right now. That's providing generally easterly flow, and that'll keep Invest 95L on a generally westward course as it is right now. But eventually, you're going to have this low try to dig down, which is going to cause the subtropical ridge to start moving east or westward and start to strengthen a little. And as Invest 95L gets to the western side of this, it'll start to travel a bit more west-northwesterly and eventually possibly northwesterly. So it'll likely get into perhaps the northeastern Caribbean and then eventually go north. So that would mean late this week, probably some impacts from 95L's wave or possibly a weak tropical cyclone, possible tropical depression or weak tropical storm as it comes ashore. So maybe some breezy winds, probably rain, some scattered showers and thunderstorms. A very you're or a very strong wave coming through or weak tropical cyclone. So nothing that's too severe, but there will be some impacts as it comes in. So again, I'll have that window from about 45 degrees north to 60 degree or 45 degrees west to 60 degrees west, and that'll allow it to start possibly piling up and becoming a tropical cyclone. But by the time it gets to the Caribbean, it probably won't be able to do much more because if you look at the low level flow here, it's like 30 degrees or 30 knots, that is, and that is pretty strong. That is pretty strong for something that's coming in without, or that's likely not to be too strong. So as it gets into the Caribbean, it's probably going to speed up as a result of that, and that will probably do a couple of things. They'll probably open the wave up, as is usual for this time of year, but at the same time, it's probably going to start outrunning its anticyclone that's providing it with low shear like this one. So as it does that, it'll start feeling some westerly shear, and that means between possible land direction and the shear starting to increase, and also the faster flow, whatever is of 95L will probably start weakening and could even dissipate as it gets into this area. But again, there possibility for some rain and breezy winds, so uh, just be prepared for that, but nothing that's too unusual, I guess, if it were later in the season. But it is something to watch at this point. Uh, Not too much else to talk about in the Atlantic tonight. If you have any questions or comments about my video, please let me know. Thanks for watching.